us today for a discussion on child protection and security concerns in the al-Hol. My name is Cecilia Polizzi. I'm the president and chief executive of the CRTG working group, the world's first organization dedicated to addressing the involvement of children with terrorist and violent extremist actors. Thank you very much to you all for joining us for this discussion. As part of our commitment to informing policymaking and responses to children in terrorism and violent extremism, in 2023, the CRTG working group is organizing a series of technical sessions with key experts and stakeholders addressing issues related to children affected by the foreign fighter phenomenon. The resultant outcomes of these sessions will comprise a set of recommendations encompassing crucial themes such as online safety, children in emergencies, repatriation, rehabilitation, and reintegration. I am thrilled to be making progress on this year-long undertaking and to be moderating this panel, which I think is going to be a critical discussion of the conditions affecting thousands of children in the al-Hol camp, regional and international impacts, and work towards achieving our shared goal of enabling appropriate responses to children affected by terrorism. Before proceeding, please allow me a few words in terms of the Q&A. To ask a question, please use the chat feature or raise your hand. We will allow time for our keynote speakers to address questions at the end, and we urge you to send them throughout the discussion. The issue of foreign terrorist fighters has been a priority on the political agenda of the European Union, its member states, and a number of governments around the world for at least the past 5 years. Since the inception of the Syrian crisis, thousands of Western and foreign nationals have traveled or attempted to travel to conflict zones in Syria and Iraq with an intent to join terrorist groups such as ISIL and other insurgent actors. In 2019, the fall of Baghouz formally ended ISIL insurgency and gave rise to incremental displacement challenges, including civilians and foreign ISIL-affiliated family members. According to the most recent figures, more than 7,000 foreign children continue to be held in deteriorating conditions in the al-Hol and its annex in northeast Syria. The 66% of foreign children are under the age of 18, orphans, their parents missing or deceased. While governments around the world continue to experience a strong set of unprecedented challenges concerning legal, ethical, and practical questions with respect to their obligations and capabilities of handling child returning contingent, the protracted situation in the al-Hol has given rise to a public child protection outcry. The condition of children of FTFs who were brought by their parents to Syria and Iraq or who have born to FTF families in the regions remain in 2023 extremely concerning and calls for appropriate and coordinated responses. Without any further delay, I will now turn to our first keynote speaker, Zurab Sadi. Zurab is a Kurdish Syrian national with a bachelor degree from Furat University who, in 2011, following the Syrian uprising, began to deliver humanitarian assistance to vulnerable groups in his local community. Mr. Sadi is the co-founder of numerous civil society organizations within northeast Syria, including the Mitan Center for Culture, the SILAV Center for Activities, and the Nuveen Association for Supporting People with Special Needs. Mr. Sadi assumed the leadership position at the DAN for Relief and Development, an organization that he established in 2013 and which provides assistance across multiple sectors, including child protection, women's protection and empowerment, water, sanitation and hygiene, food security, livelihoods, and peace building. Under the umbrella of DAN for Relief and Development, operations are conducted in multiple governorates, including IDPs, refugee camps, and informal settlement in Al-Azaka, Deir ez-Zor, and Raqqa governorates in northeast Syria. Through its effort, DRD endeavors to provide relief and development interventions in these areas and proactively engages with international organizations such as Care International, Norwegian's People Aid, World Child Holland, and Save the Children, among others. Mr. Sadi, thank you very much for making time to participate in this technical session. The floor is yours.
Actually, let me first talk about al-Hol camp. This camp was established in northeastern Syria in the early of 1919s to receive Iraqi refugees and seek safety from the conflict in their country. The camp was closed in 2013 when Iraqis returned or found other durable solutions. In May 2016, the camp reopened again to accommodate Syrian and Iraqi fleeing violence in their countries, where by late 2018, the number of IDPs and refugees in the camp has reached nearly 9,000 people. But after more violence and hostilities occurred in the end of 2018 and the beginning of 2019, during the period of eliminating the Islamic State and its last stronghold in al-Baghouz town in Deir ez-Zor, the number of the camp population exceeded 70,000 people. Currently, as April 2023, the population of al-Hol camp has reached 51,169 individuals, which is 14,000 families, including Syrians, Iraqis, and different third country nationalities from 60 different countries around the world. It's worth noting that the number of children has reached about 32,000, which a rate of more than 60% of the total residents, and the majority didn't exceed the age of 12 years old. Many international and local organizations, including DAN and UN agencies, are currently working in the camp. The number is estimated at 20 NGOs, according to the camp administration. 60% of them are local NGOs. These organizations work to provide various services such as education, health, water, sanitation, hygiene, nutrition, protection, including child protection and women protection and empowerment, psychosocial support, and legal services, as well as kindergartens for children and alternative care centers, in addition to other services such as distributing fuels, tents, food, and non-food items. But in fact, the services provided are insufficient with large gaps, since the needs is immense. In terms of infrastructure, services such as night lighting for wash facilities and bathrooms in some zones in the camp, it's not there, which poses many risks, especially for women and children. And there is a need for the necessary maintenance of collective kitchens and the replacement of worn out tents. Also, we have in the camp open trenches are also a major cause of risk against children, and many of them lost their lives as a result of drowning in those trenches. Likewise, there are gaps in case management services, safe spaces for women and girls, and there is a lack of CFS, child-friendly spaces in the camp, in addition to a lack of water sterilization process provided, whether for drinking or domestic use, and the lack of vector control. There is also a great need for personal hygiene for individuals, hygiene kits and dignity kits for women and girls, and also for newborn children diapers. Also, as for the medical situation, there are big gaps for chronic patients, surgeries, and medical waste management. Residents in al-Hol camp, especially the children associated with FTFs, are suffering from great difficulty in external medical referrals, especially, as I said, for the people of the third country nationalities, as the camp is like a large prison. It's worth to mention that the services provided in the camp decreased significantly during the past year and the current year due to lack of funding and the impact of the Ukrainian crisis on the situation in Syria. And finally, the devastating earthquake which take place in northern Syria and Turkey, which was a reason for donors' interest in focusing and directing fundings to those areas, which negatively affected the needs of the camp. I want to speak now more about our work as DAN. We at DAN Organization for Relief and Development, along with many local and international NGOs, we are working in al-Hol camp by providing child protection services within our 2 CFS, one in the first base and the second one in the first 7th base inside the camp. We are providing structured psychological support activities for children and caregivers, in addition to recreational activities and campaigns of raising awareness about child protection issues. We also established child protection committees within the camp and hold regular meetings with caregivers and community leaders to discuss the most important issues and risks that the children, among them the FTF's children, that faces and how we can mitigate these risks. DAN is also active in other locations in northeastern Syria. We have safe spaces for children and women in the western countryside of Deir Zor, Sur town in northern countryside of Deir Zor also, and also in Washington camp for the IDPs in Al-Hasaka and the city of Raqqa, which was the capital of ISIS there. DAN works in partnership with many international organizations working in the field of child protection in Syria, such as Save the Children International, War Child Holland, and Care International. Let me speak about the children's rights and child protection programs. Actually, as for that, there are many programs and activities aimed to enhance the well-being of children and mitigating the effects of war and conflict that they went through. But the implementation of these activities faces many challenges and risks, as there are many groups of children who do not participate in our programs and describe us as disbelievers. As for the children who participate, who are allowed and saying, okay, we will participate in our activities, they often make drawings that have negative indications and are related to war, killings, type of weapons, war aircrafts, and other. It's worth noting that the various services provided to children don't cover the required need, and similar medicines are provided for most sick conditions. The health and protection programs are at bad quality, actually. As for health services, children often have weak access to medical services due to the lack of all necessary services, especially in the critical cases, and they are unable to go outside the camp for treatment just after gaining complex and hard approvals that many times takes days. And also, by the way, many children have died due to these routines and gaining these bad and negative approvals. And then after that approvals, they go outside with restricted security process. As for education, also the children suffers from a great shortage in the camp, and the necessary needs are not provided. On the other hand, children actually are stopped and being arrested by the security forces in the camp as a result of suspicion and in incidents of theft or burning tents and other incidents. With regard to the security situation in the camp, actually, the camp has witnessed a state of instability. The camp has never been stable, actually, since 2018. As cases of murder, theft, and other hostilities, such as vandalizing public and private properties and burning tents, are frequent and regular. As children are abused, by extremist groups to commit some of these crimes. As among them, some of the reasons why stands behind these acts of violence is extremist ideology, extortion, or killing for money. Unfortunately, the extremist groups are using children to commit such bad violent incidents. In addition to the poor economic and living condition in the camp, where children and other women are the main victims of these cases. Among the most common risks that children are exposed to are murder, exploitation, and sexual harassment, dropping out of schools, gender-based violence, hard access to services, especially the health ones, extremism, arresting, child marriage, child labor, loss or lack of civil documentations, especially the FTF's children don't have any documentations. So they are not recognized, they are facing many challenges regarding that. Also, one of the risks are family separations and others. As during the year of 2021, nearly 79 children died in al-Hol camp in Syria, where 35% of these who died in al-Hol camp were children under the age of 16, due to repeated killings, as well as lack of health care, malnutrition, and chronic diseases. On the other hand, some humanitarian workers, such as are subjected to harassment and repeated threats. Some of us has been killed. Some of our colleagues from MSF and KRC has been killed actually during the past years. And the facilities of many partners and organizations operating in the camp are subject to vandalism and repeated attacks by extremists in the camp. And the camp authority repeatedly closes the camp completely and preventing entry and exit to it in order to carry out security operations and search for suspects of the presence of weapons within the camp. And this process permeates killings sometimes between security personnel and some sleep cells within the camp. It also results in the arrest of many residents of the camp, including children, and the suspension of most activities and services provided by the international and local NGOs of the organization. Actually, when we have these security operations, sometimes it lasts for 1 week or more, all the NGOs activities are suspended. So the people, and especially children in the camp, has no access to our services. Talking about the attempts to convert children into extremists by some extremist group of women and ISIS families within the camp, a great deal of work is being done to implant ideas of extremism, violence, and the infidelity of the other in the minds of children, and incite them to take revenge of the killers of their fathers. So the women of ISIS repeatedly are encouraging those children to take revenge for their fathers. So they are committing crimes against others and against security forces sometimes, and for the NGO staff workers, as they describe us as disbelievers. Also, whereas we have two camps in northeastern Syria, we have Rouge camp and al-Hol camp. Both of these camps have FTF children, the Syrian terrorist fighters, children and family among them. In addition to that, we have rehabilitation centers that have been established by the self-administration, the Kurdish self-administration in northeastern Syria, where we have three rehabilitation centers. The names is Huri, Halat, and Orkesh rehabilitation centers. These centers include and have more than 350 children of the Syrian terrorist fighters, associated children of more than 20 different nationalities. And their ages range between 6 and 70 years old, in order to prevent the influence of the wives and female of ISIS fighters on them, who seek to raise a new generation of extremist group fighters inside the camps, where these children are trained in the centers for about 8 hours a day, and they receive educational courses and sessions with psychological psychological consultations, and develop their skills. And as administration also, the self-administration are demanded to support her and to establish more than 15 other rehabilitation centers. So now we have just 3 ones. The number is very low. The self-administration is demanding from the international coalition to support them to establish more than 15 new centers to have these FTF children inside them. At last, we have our recommendations. Actually, we want to ensure unrestricted access for humanitarian organization to the residents of al-Hol camp, to ensure the providing of various services, especially those that support children. We also recommend to ask donors to increase funding allocated to respond to the needs of families in al-Hol camp and the children of FTFs. Also, we are recommending to dismantling the whole camp into many camps, divided into one camp for Syrians, IDPs, another one for Iraqi refugees, and a third one for the third country nationalities, in order to mitigate the risks and various forms of violence against children. Also, we see that it must be recognized that the general conditions of the camp are not suitable places, are not proper for the children to stay there. And we should put pressure on governments and countries of those families and children to secure a safe return, to a safe and voluntary return to their countries of origin. We also recommend to increase the support for local NGOs and authorities to establish rehabilitation centers for young children of Syrian fighters. It should also be recognized that to provide immediate mental health, psychosocial, and case management support to children living in al-Hol camp. We also want to work, it has to work on building the capacity building for the camp authority and security forces to how the best deal with children to preserve their rights, since many security forces are dealing in a bad way, in a bad circumstances with these children. So if we can build their capabilities and work on that issue, we will ensure the best dealing with these children. That's from our side. If you have any question, we are ready for that. Please go ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud and Zohrab, for this presentation and for exposing the complexities of the situation in the al-Hol camp, including its critical security and the child protection challenges, the continued violence and radicalization risks to which children are exposed, as well as the immediate need to address these circumstances, as well as delivering aid and assistance. Please allow me now to welcome an intervention from Dr. Elie Abouan, Senior Analyst and Advisor, former Director of the MENA Program at the United States Institute of Peace, and a distinguished member of our governing body here at CRTG Working Group. Elie, thank you very much. It is a special privilege to have you with us. I turn the floor over to you for your intervention.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. So I'll actually, I don't have a presentation, unfortunately, but I will cover a few points that will bring more questions than answers, I'm afraid, given the complexity of the issue. Obviously, the issue has several layers. There's a humanitarian layer, there is a human rights layer, and there is a security layer. What I will try to do in the next few minutes is to focus on the implications of this protracted crisis on regional security in general, with a small focus on human rights, on the human rights situation as well. So obviously, al-Hol camp continues to fuel a lot of statements, narratives, reports, etc. And we hear a lot of very common statements, such as the camp is a breeding ground for radicalization. There is a generational transmission of extremist beliefs. Camp residents, including women and children, are exposed to continued indoctrination, etc., etc. On top of the several red flags about the humanitarian situation. And I'm not saying that all of these are not true. I'm certain that the situation is as bad as it is being described by all these reports and statements. But I'd like to focus, as I said, on a slightly different angle in the next few minutes. I think I wanted to provide a little bit of context. I think my colleague Zohrab provided a good context. So just to quickly to say that the current population in the camp is anything between 53 to 58,000 people, depending on the sources. So there's no reliable information about how many people exactly are there. Different sources are presenting different figures, but most of the figures are within the range of 53 to 58K. And apparently around 70% of them are under the age of 18. The peak of the population in the camp was in 2018 with an estimated 80,000, of which 48% were Iraqis, 37% were Syrians, and the rest are the 15% remaining are from 60 other countries approximately. And the other thing that many reports don't mention is that the population includes perpetrators of terrorist crimes, but it also includes family members, bystanders, or people who lived in areas ruled by ISIS at some point, and even in some cases victims of ISIS crimes. So it's not a camp for only ISIS terrorists. There is a mix of people that include terrorists and radicalized elements, but also includes their family members who may not be radicalized, bystanders, as I said, so people who lived under the ISIS rule at some point, and victims of their crimes. The other reality check, sorry, there's a mosquito. The other reality check that I want to also put forward today is that al-Hol is a town. Before becoming a camp, before hosting the camp, al-Hol is a town that has, that existed before ISIS and before the first Gulf War. when the first camp was established. It's 40 kilometers east of Hasaka. It has 22 municipalities, and in 2004, 3,500 people were living there. So it's a normal town, and I invite you to try and reflect on how this camp is affecting the daily life of these people. I don't know how many of the 3,500 are still living there, but there are people living there in the town. And obviously their safety, security, access to humanitarian aid are all at risk, basically. So moving on to the implications of this protracted problem, it's not a crisis. People call it crisis. I don't think it's a crisis anymore. It's a chronic problem. It's a protracted problem. One of the implications that we are all the time running the risk of seeing more attacks inside the camp, but also in other detention centers to free ISIS fighters. And we've seen in the last few years, we've seen more than one example of attacks like this. Obviously, this is a major security risk to the people who are inside the camp, in the camps, whether the al-Hol or other detention centers, or to the civilians who are living around the centers, as I said. The other thing I want to highlight today is the continued militarization of communities, mainly in Syria and Iraq. When I was working for the U.S. Institute of Peace, we used to implement some projects in Al-Qaim, in Anbar, in Western Iraq. And I know for a fact that a lot of tribes over there still mention the fact that this issue the issue of al-Hol camp has not been resolved, to justify why they're holding up to so many weapons and to their alliances with the militias, with the non-state armed groups, etc., etc. So this is, the continuation of this crisis will keep this reason alive, will keep a justification for any group, whether tribal, political, or otherwise, to keep their arms and to keep their communities militarized. The second thing is, and again, drawing from my own experience in Al-Qaim, is that there is a manipulation or instrumentalization of the issue by some Iraqi actors, but also regional actors. And can give you, with a lot of confidence, information about how the Iranians, through their proxies in Iraq, were actually convincing some Sunni tribes from Al-Qaim that they can bring their people, they can ensure a safe return for their sons from al-Hol, provided that they vote for them. So they vote in favor of these parties in the general elections that happened last year. I've seen this firsthand. I've been in touch with tribe leaders who were approached by al-Hashd, or the Popular Mobilization Forces, who were basically trying to form alliances using specifically this issue. Obviously, if we continue with this problem, this means that most of the counterterrorism efforts will continue to privilege or to give priority to the security angle. And then, all the theories that counterterrorism is not only about security, it is definitely first and foremost about security, but not only about this. So all the effort to mainstream other dimensions within the counterterrorism efforts will be weak or will not exist because of this problem. And definitely having counterterrorism efforts focused on security rather than on anything else has a lot of impact on the human rights situation in general, in Iraq, in Syria, and other places. This specifically applies also to the countries where I'm talking about the MENA countries. I know that in Europe, probably this is not going to be an issue, but in the MENA countries, I'm based in Tunisia. I'm now actually speaking to you from Tunisia. And I know that in Tunisia, the authorities here are very anxious about the return of thousands of Tunisians in case anything happens with al-Hol camp, and they're not ready to deal with it. And the security apparatus here is definitely pushing for a harsh approach to just capture these people and put them in jail. And we know how's the situation of Tunisia's detention facilities and prisons, etc. So just to give you an example of how the human rights situation would be affected at different levels. There's definitely a cross-border implications. The camp is bordering both the Iraqi and the Turkish borders, and there have been, cross-border movements, smuggling, infiltration by extremist elements, etc. We know that there are now specialized gangs trying to smuggle people out of al-Hol, provided they pay money, etc., etc. It will continue to feed populist and radicalized agenda in the region, and we know that the populist agendas in the region now are at the peak. We've never seen that much of populism in the region, and this includes obviously radicalization efforts. And having this camp, of course, I'm not saying this is the only reason. I'm just saying that it will continue, it will fuel, it will help, it will contribute to the continuation of this. And without a proper plan to address the issue, the chances of unorganized return will increase. As we've seen, the Iraqis were trying to organize the return of some of their citizens, but the whole process was unorganized. It did not include the safeguards that are needed usually in this case, in this process. So the risk of having improvised, ad hoc efforts to take out people from al-camp and either take them to their own countries or to other places will continue. And I think this kind of unorganized processes will have an impact on the safety and security on people in countries of origin. It will have it will put huge pressure, on the capacity of the security and the judicial institutions in the countries of origin. I mentioned Iraq and Tunisia as two examples. It will also, having an organized return, for example, if you take the example of Tunisia, even if these people are not put in jail, injecting 2,000 or 3,000 Tunisians in the labor market today in Tunisia will have a major economic impact as well, at a time when the country is struggling with a very strong economic crisis. So there is an economic angle or dimension to this. It will also, obviously, in some cases, it will have significant implication or impact on the social cohesion, and it might increase the risk of seeing more intra-communal conflicts as well. So I'll stop here. I know it's not a very hopeful presentation. I just want to end my presentation with something that I read in a report, in a survey actually, conducted by Save the Children in 2022 in al-Hol camp, and in which they highlighted the sense of hopelessness that most of the people inside the camp are feeling. And I invite you actually how much this senselessness, all the other things that is going to add to the fragility of the MENA region in the coming years. We're having a full generation of people who are living in a sense of hopelessness. And this is, from my perspective, a very serious issue that overrides most of the other issues that I just mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ali, for this thorough analysis. Before proceeding with the Q&A period of this expert briefing, please allow me to mention that we are experiencing some technical challenges regarding the simultaneous interpretation feature. And here, a program manager will translate your questions for us. So please give to him the appropriate time to translate this question for Zohrab. Thank you. I would like now to turn over to this question and answer period by posing a question to Zohrab, if possible. Zohrab, I know this is something that was mentioned during your presentation, and in particular your reference about the security issues that are currently affecting children within the al-Hol camp. Reportedly, the camps have become increasingly dangerous and violent as detainees, including many ISIL loyalists, have carried out attacks against others, as well as camp authorities and aid workers. The United Nations reported that 90 people were murdered in al-Hol in 2021, and 42 from January to mid-November 2022. mothers interviewed by Human Rights Watch said that they hide their children in order to protect them from sexual predators, abusive camp guards, and ISIL recruiters and fighters. And I would like to ask if you could please discuss a bit more about the existing risks and vulnerabilities that children face while they remain in the al-Hol camp, particularly in relation to sexual violence, abuse, smuggling, trafficking, radicalization, and of course, the potential for recruitment by extremist actors, and how can these risks be mitigated? Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Cecilia. In his keynote, the most risks and security concerns that residents of al-Hol camp are facing, especially for children, are child labor. Many women and adults are using those children to commit crimes and to put fire into tents. And actually, we have the NGOs are working a lot to mitigate these issues and how to deal with children properly. Actually, and the self-administration are taking each and every child, the male child, who exceed 11 and 12 years old and above. They are taking them to the rehabilitation centers to give them trainings and sessions and to how to prepare them and take the radicalism ideology from them. So we are working as local NGOs and international NGOs, in addition to the local authorities, to mitigate these risks toward children. But let me say that the camp by itself, it's like a prison. It's not safe at all. We are not there 24/7. We are just working as NGOs from 8 to 2 p.m. After that, many risks and crimes being committed against children, and the situation is very bad, actually. So it's beyond our capacities as NGOs.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud and Zorab. I would like now to follow up with you with respect to the condition of children in the al-Hol as of different nationalities. And if you can provide, please, more information about how does this section that accommodates Western and European foreign terrorist fighters differ from the section hosting Iraqis and Syrian in terms of the socio-cultural context, living conditions, access to essential services, and also security. If you can, please also briefly describe the consequences and implications for children. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Actually, as for the third nationality citizens, as for al-Hol camp, it's like it have 3 zones for Iraqi refugees and 2 zones for Syrian IDPs. As for the third country nationalities, they have been located in 6 annexes, which is next to the Iraqi refugees. They are living in besieged and borders inside the camp. So they are special zones for those third country nationalities. As for the services provided to those, it's similar to Iraqis and Syrians ones, but as for the health services, they are facing challenges since they don't have documentations. They are not allowed properly to go out the camp to take the treatment required to them. The children in the annexes, the FTF children facing don't have access to education as properly, let me say, and they don't accept the curriculum of UNICEF and Save the Children curriculum, because they are saying it's believers ones. They don't go to the school centers and it's like that. As for the wash, sanitations, and other services, it's like the whole camp is similar to each other. As a whole, it's a bad condition there. The need is huge. The local NGOs are not providing as required because of funding, because of security issues, because of security operations, and so on.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud and Zorab. There is a question from Esther Brito. Esther, please feel free to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentations. This is incredibly interesting. I've recently been conducting a little bit of research specifically into the situation of young girls and how they are differentially affected by patterns of radicalization and how situations of violence that you have covered, including patterns of sexual violence and other forms of intimidation, are specifically manifesting for young girls. So I was hoping, given the extensive experience that you have in dealing with the everyday situations that children, specifically young girls, are undergoing in the camp, if you could provide a bit more detail on how you see these situations of these young children, and whether, in the same way that young men are being militarized specifically, whether they are gendered manifestations of radicalization in young women that you have observed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Esther. Actually, for the female, the girls in al-Hol camp, especially for the third country nationalities. Do you hear me, please? Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, of course. Actually, as children, the situation is very bad, and it's worse for the female ones, for girls. They are not allowed to go outside their tents in night or after 3 p.m. They don't have access as needed to dignity kits and their initial services. The elder women are using them. They have been abused to, let me say, sexual harassment and rape by, unfortunately, by some of the security forces and the water tracking drivers and others. So there are many reports of rape and sexual harassment against these girls. They have a weak access to services, especially to education, to hygiene and wash services. As for the gender-based violence, also the situation is very bad. All forms of abuse are committed in the camp, especially, as I said, for the girls.
Thank you so much for this information. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud, Zorab, and also, of course, Esther. Is there any other question for our speakers?
Hi, Cecilia.
Hello, Ian.
I'm having some connections with my mic there. If I may, I'd like to ask a question very similar, actually, to the last one that was asked relating to the young men, I was very happy to hear that there's a number of de-radicalization facilities set up for them. But it's around that question of them. I heard mention that the boys between 11 and 12 years old are being taken away to give them some type of de-radicalization training. I was wondering, how long are those sessions? Like, how long are the young men taken away for? And are they reintroduced to the camps, you know, fairly rapidly after, or is it a staged reintroduction?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, as I said, the security forces and the camp administration are talking these children, let me say the male children who are exceeding 11 and 12 years old, they are talking, taking them to the rehabilitation centers. We have 3 centers in northeastern Syria. Actually, the information is very low. We don't have sufficient information about that. Actually, they are staying there permanently as for the third country nationalities, because they are not taking them back to the camps since the radicalization ideology in the camp are bad. To not get back to the camp and reunion themselves into groups and making a new generation of ISIS groups. So as for the third country nationalities, they are staying them until we find a solution from their governments. As for the Syrian ones, who their fathers were from the foreign fighters, but their mothers are Syrian, after they they become adults and they exceed the age of 18, they have meetings with the tribe leaders in their resort and their origin sites, and they have deals to take them back with their families to their towns and cities.
Thank you very much for that. You know, really great to hear that, you know, they are for at least the group from the third countries that they're staying there. That is, you know, beneficial for the efforts of de-radicalization, not reintroducing in the space. The other question I would have is there have been stories that have been coming out about specific targeted rape and sexual assault by women at the camp against some of the young male population of the camp, specifically for the purpose of breeding a new generation. I'd just like to hear your take on how factual those stories are, and if they are factual, to what extent that is happening.
Yeah, thank you. That's right, actually. There are some reports and we witnessed that actually. Especially in the annexes, we have 6 annexes in the camp where the women and female from the third country nationalities are living them. They are using children from 11 to 13 years old to have sexual sex with them to get pregnant and give birth to new generation of ISIS, since their husband are arrested in the presence or have been killed. So the only solution for them to get pregnant, they are using these children to get pregnant. Also, they are using some service providers, such I said, the water tracking drivers, sometimes security forces, for these purposes. We have that actually, but the number accurately, we don't have it until now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your input.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. Irina, thank you very much for inserting your question in the chat. Please feel free to take the floor.
Thank you, Cecilia. My question is primarily for Zohrab. I would like to, to ask about something we have not discussed so far, and that actually surfaces very rarely in international discourse. It's related to the needs of the autonomous administration, of the self-administration. We're often quick with criticism, but administration receives barely any outside help to empower it to address the challenges. And the challenges are insurmountable. It's an extremely tight spot politically. I think I don't want to discuss the political issues here, but I think we're all aware of the extremely hostile environment in the region. And so the administration probably needs outside help to be able to handle all those challenges we have discussed. So I would like an insider's perspective on the needs inside northeast Syria, and what exactly international actors can do to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irina. Actually, as I said in our keynote, the self-administration has raised its demand to receive support from the international coalition and the Western governments and the EU agencies, UN and EU agencies, to provide them with financial and technical support to deal with these children. Like we said, as I said, we had as self-administration, there are 2 rehabilitation centers in 2023. They gain a sort of support from the coalition to establish a new one, but actually the need is very big. They are not dealing properly. They are not aware properly how to deal with these people and children. So yes, the need is huge. We are not getting it in northeastern Syria. And actually, unfortunately, our self-administration is Kurdish ones. So this al-Hol camp resident don't accept the Kurdish administration. So we need a solution regarding that. I can say if we make advocacy to participate many international actors in the providing solutions for al-Hol and foreign terrorist fighters, children will be very much appreciated, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Esther, yes, please go ahead. Feel free to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these wonderful interventions. Talking about the challenges that local administrations face, and going back to the points we've seen of the lessening resources that are being dedicated due to competing international crisis to camps and the service provision that is so vital for the needs of children. I was hoping to ask where you see the developments in coming months, whether this trend of strained resources is set to continue, if there are, I guess, if there are further negotiations or refocusings after the recent months in terms of work in the camp, and particularly these more long-term programs, including schooling and de-radicalization and the buildup of infrastructure within the camps. I was hoping to see, as practitioners, what you are seeing as the developments. Thank you very much.
Mahmoud.
Thank you so much, Esther. Actually, I don't know if I get the question very well, but I will talking about the local or authorities' capabilities and development, how to deal with this issue. Actually, let me shed some light on the challenges that we face, especially when the Turkish army hit the Syrian or lane. All the local NGOs get outside from al-Hol camp and they responded to that crisis. As for the earthquake that happened in February 2023, we have lack of services and intervention in al-Hol camp that are making pressure on the local authorities to respond. Many of the, let me say, uprising has occurred in the camp to regain the Islamic State, there were many security operations there. So the local authorities are facing challenges, unbearable challenges to deal with this situation, actually. I don't know if I get the question very well. I'm sorry for that. Thank you.
No, it's a perfect response. And do you think, knowing that capacities are strained and funding went down, do you think that funding will continue to be cut over recent months, or is it something that is more punctual due to the conflict in Ukraine and the earthquake? I just speaking or listening to you speak about these service needs, I think that the long-term situation is very delicate, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, actually, as for the funding, since we are outside the government of Syria areas, so we have many challenges regarding that. The funding is getting lower and lower year by year, especially in 2023 after the earthquake impact, the Ukrainian crisis. All the funding go outside Syria or to the west, northwest of Syria, especially for al-Hol camp. Many services, many education centers and protection centers have been stopped due to the freezing or the lack of funding. And we think that in the coming month, the funding will continue in lower cycle, unfortunately.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. Guillaume Sotomayor, please take the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful intervention. It was absolutely fascinating to listen to every one of you. I have a question to both to the main speaker and to Dr. Appenbaum for the points that you both mentioned with respect to realpolitik, what I like to call, the power games behind sometimes the reaction and the policies that are decided with respect to the way that these children are taken or not taken care of, mostly. My question to you is as follows. I think that anyone with a sense of reality, as you rightly mentioned, know that not taking care of these children poses a massive security, political, social risks for many countries, for any kind of countries concerned in the coming years and decades to come. As not taking care of children in the 1990s, both blockers in Iraq also caused major security consequences that we are living today. So my question to you, with the people that you are interacting with at the moment, do you have impression that this realpolitik discourse, that is very often based on domestic political considerations, short-term domestic consideration, is finally a little bit evolving? Do you get a sense that some of your interlocutors are changing gears or adapting a little bit their analysis with just getting a reality check a little bit, or are you dubious of this positive evolution? Thank you very much.
Zohra, please go ahead. I guess the questions was for both of us.
Mahmoud, can you?
Yeah, sorry for that. Actually, maybe I don't get it very well. So, Dr. Eli, if you go first, I
Sure.
will then continue. Sorry for that because I didn't get it.
Thank you. So if I got the question right, Guillaume, you know, I'll try to provide an answer based on what I understood. I did not see any change in the posture of the main countries involved in this problem, whether the regional power or the international stakeholders. I still see, you know, a huge, so if you take the Western countries in general, most of them are trying to avoid getting their people back, and they're finding all sorts of excuses, and they're trying to clear their conscience by just pouring in money to the SDF and to others to make sure that the camp is managed in a slightly better way, and that these people stay over there. So I did not notice any change in the intention of Western governments to properly deal with this problem when it comes to their own citizen. I know that there have been some pressure from the United States on some European countries to fast forward the process, but to the best of my knowledge, these efforts were not successful. Now, when it comes to the regional countries, it depends on which country you're looking at. The countries that have a lot of people inside al-Hol, mainly Tunisia and Iraq, are really worried about a massive return of people from al-Hol, because they don't think that their judiciary and their security system can actually absorb that many people. So although in the public statements, they are all saying we want our people back, we want to facilitate, etc., and the government of Iraq actually took some measures to facilitate the return. But as I told you, a lot of return is happening spontaneously in an unorganized manner through non-state actors rather than through official channels. So the real effort and the real political safeguards that are needed are not there. And this is an indication, from my perspective, this is an indication about how much the government is serious about it. Now, other countries, those who don't have too many people in al-Hol, look at the problem only from a security perspective, as I mentioned before. And for them, this is a purely security problem. These people are a danger for the national security, and they have to stay there. There's very little appetite on behalf of these countries to actually engage in meaningful solutions when discussing the issue of al-Hol camp. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, this was perfect, Doctor.
Yeah,
thank you very much. It was exactly what I was, unfortunately, what I was expecting. I was hoping that perhaps there had been some evolutions in the past few years, but yeah, this is from the discussions I have myself on similar issues. This is unfortunately the reality. Thank you very much for your response.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eli. I totally agree with you. Actually, there is no serious procedures or actions has been taken from the Western countries, unless for some Arabic ones like Tunisia or Iraq. As for the Western countries, as you said, there are no clear or real procedures or actions to get these people back to their origin, because they consider them as a bomb to their communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other question for our speakers?
I have one question, if it were possible.
Esther, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. The conversation that you were having with regards to repatriation efforts, I think, is very interesting. One of the factors that some European states started doing was potentially even taking away nationality of their residents that were residing in the camp. And even though I believe now there's not so much of a tendency to do that, that movement towards pushing people to a statelessness or non-recognition, I wonder if you feel that may become a resource that these European states that are unwilling to repatriate their citizens or their children might use in order to shield responsibility, if that is a worry, specifically knowing already the limited rights and protections that are being afforded by these states to their residents. I wonder if statelessness is something that might become a problem in the next few years.
I guess the question is for me. Well, I think yes, it is going to be a problem in the next few years because you know the whole approach of the Western governments with regards to this issue is problematic. First of all, as I said before, there's a very little appetite to get their people back, and whenever they're getting them back, they're not dealing with them properly. And I acknowledge it's not easy. I'm not saying it's an easy problem to be dealt with. I understand that it is quite challenging. You know, it's a complex, as I started my presentation by saying, it's a complex issue that requires obviously a complex solution. But I still think that there are ways of mitigating the impact of this of the crisis or the issue itself. Even if they organize the return of some of their citizens from al-Hol camp. But the fact of pushing back and just, you know, kind of putting themselves in a denial, in a situation of denial by saying we don't want to deal with it. Of course, they're not saying this publicly, but this is how they're acting, basically. I don't think it's going to be helpful. So it requires a obviously multi-layered approach that would involve civil society and other actors in these countries, including the governments, obviously security, judicial, etc. But what I'm objecting to is this pushback that is quite generic. It's the generic pushback in general that I'm seeing in most of the cases. And yes, this is problematic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Eli, I would have a follow-up with you, if you don't mind. Of course, you discussed about the situation in the al-Hol as one chronic problem and a very serious one affecting the region. And we have had an opportunity to ascertain how unsustainable the situation in the al-Hol truly is, not only for the implication that it has for children, but also at the regional level and the international level. How do you see this issue being solved, or what kind of opportunity for resolution do you perceive in the next time period? Thank you.
Cecilia, I wish I had the answer. I would have been much richer if I had the answer to this question. First of all, I think that you know, the first you know, step of any process should be to make the distinction between the different categories of people and to design solutions accordingly. One of the problems that we're still seeing, especially with regional actors, is that they consider everyone al-Hol as falling under one category. And this is by itself a major impediment to any kind of solution, because you can't imagine organizing the return of 53 or 58,000 terrorists, you know, at a time, if you consider all of them as terrorists. So there needs to be a sustained effort through the implementing partners who are already there to try and categorize these people and see, you know, who from them is a real threat to security and who is less of a threat, who is a workable case, who is not a workable case. I'm sure there are people who are not workable. They just need to be put in jail. I don't think every terrorist is a workable case. So a number of people who are in al-Hol are not workable. They just need to go through a fair trial and go to jail, and that's it. But there are many others, and probably the majority, who fall under different categories. And these categories need to be dealt with accordingly. You can't, it's very hard for me now to think of solutions if I don't know how many people were just bystanders in ISIS-controlled areas back then, who from them were not radicalized but are now radicalized, who are perpetrators, who are et cetera, et cetera. So I think the first step is to really get a better understanding of the different categories. And then, as I said, it requires also a multi-layered approach. So one actor, whether government or security agencies or judiciary alone, one actor cannot do much on this. So it requires a national strategy kind of approach that involves civil society as well. And this is problematic, especially in the case of the regional countries. You know, you talk about this kind of approaches in Iraq or Tunisia, it's much more difficult to envisage this compared to, you know, having something like this in, I don't know, in Canada, in Spain, in Italy, et cetera, et cetera. And the third thing is that the capacity, again, I'm talking about the regions in the country, the countries in the MENA region, the capacity of the institutions here is already strained. You know, if you look at the judiciary in Tunisia and Iraq, they're already suffering. So bringing in more people will only aggravate the problem. So you need to prepare the ground by providing institutional capacity building and, you know, strengthening these institutions before starting a gradual process of return. So it's, you know, these are just bits and pieces of any solution, and probably this is not the solution, but these are the prerequisites for a solution, even not a solution.
Yes, thank you very much. Ali, if I may follow up with you very briefly. You were mentioning before about the role that civil society can play to address this type of scenario. Would you like to articulate a bit more about that?
Well, I see the role of the civil society more, you know, being more relevant in the cases of people who are not perpetrators and who were not accused of crimes, etc. So we were talking about women and children. We were talking about people who were radicalized but did not commit any action yet. So all of these are workable cases. Obviously, there needs to be a government program for this, but I can definitely see the value of having civil society-led programs to work with these people and make sure that they reintegrate the society in a constructive way and without much damage. And I can also see a role for the private sector in this case, you know, integrating, especially in countries like, as I said, Tunisia and Iraq, where we're expecting a large number of returnees, if this happens at all. But in case this happens, in the theoretical scenario that this happens, then you will have thousands of people coming to integrate, you know, within 2 or 3 years the labor market. And during these 2 or 3 years, you need to prepare the labor market to absorb this workforce. And there is a definite role for the private sector in this case. So it's not only the government, it's not only civil society, it's also the private sector. It is a real multilateral effort that needs to be put in place.
Thank you very much. Ali, I see that there is a question in the chat from Whitman Davis. Whitman, would you like to take the floor, please?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to, and it might be a little bit redundant, but I just wanted to ask kind of specifically as to which groups by gender, age, background have the most risk for being smuggled out of the camp or out of the area by kind of quote unquote bad actors or non-state actors or groups. It's for both of you. Thank you.
Mahmoud, if you like to start, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Whitman. Actually, as for the smuggling, we regularly face that issue in al-Hol camp. The most group are doing that are from Baghouz town and eastern and northern countryside of Deir ez-Zor in Syria. As for the third country nationalities, we don't have that accurate information of if they are French or German ones, but it's low in comparison to the Syrian from Deir ez-Zor, who are the most ones are smuggling from outside the country.
And what about the targeted group that they smuggle? If that makes sense.
Sorry, the targeted group of what?
Yeah, the target group within the camp. What would, I mean, in your experience and perspective, what would their target group look like?
Actually, I don't have that accurate information. Maybe
Yeah.
Dr. Ali, if you got it. So I don't want to give inaccurate ones.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I think, you know, as any other smuggling activity, the targeted group is those who have money. I don't think that they are targeting a specific demographic as smugglers. So I'm talking here about the smugglers in general who are doing this for profit. They just target anyone who has money. Now, if the question includes what I mentioned about popular mobilization forces or non-state armed groups in Iraq facilitating the return of families for political reasons, then it's a different type of approach. And in this case, they're targeting Iraqi families who are from that area. So they are specifically looking for families from Al-Qaim or any other border area over there, and trying to talk to their tribes, and through their tribe leaders in Al-Qaim, conveying messages to them that, you know, there are people here who are happy to secure your return. This is what you have to do, 1, 2, 3, and then the tribe leader is the one who's paying money on behalf of the families. So usually they're trying to target Iraqis as much as they can, Iraqi families, but it happens also that many Iraqi families are actually headed by females, so female-headed households, because their husbands were killed in the military operations. So they are there with their kids. They still have uncles or brothers or cousins in Iraq, and these people are actually reaching out to them and trying to organize their return.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We are now approaching the end of this session. I would like to extend a sincere thanks to our speakers for their exceptional contribution and the Q&A session, which I must say to have personally found an extremely enlightening discussion. I look forward to further engagement on this critical issue and area of intervention throughout 2023, and I thank you all for participating.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.